Yeah, so basically, just a quick breakdown. We finally heard back from Fanatics. Jesse got an email this morning. Now, I can't say the guy's name. Is that right? That's the deal?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, but he is a direct employee of Fanatics, somebody with a pretty good title.
I'm gonna play dumb and say he may or may not be, but yeah.
He's an
So
employee. I mean, this is somebody from Fanatics, not like all. The reason I'm saying that is because all these stupid. We've had a bunch of more articles today, Wall Street Journal, all these other things with people close to the source, whatever. I'm not going live with people close to the source. This is somebody there. And it's not earth-shattering news, but it is some interesting. Some of the statements are kind of weird to me. So we're just
all
going to
right.
figure we kind of break down the email. As I said the other day, we're recording tonight late instead of tomorrow, just because I'm heading out of town. So we're going to rehash this and get into more detail. Hopefully, we have even more of a response by then. But
Yeah. Yeah,
you
they
want to just
basically
read it
said,
or what?
yeah, I think there's 5 bullet points. We'll just hit each one real quick. But
Hit it, and then
they,
we'll go back and recap them.
yeah, bottom line is, guys, they said when it's time, we will have a representative from Fanatics on the show to talk about it. Now is not that time, but
Okay.
this is what they gave. So, um, first one's it's pretty much fluff. It says Fanatics is building the leading global digital sports platform comprised of companies across the sports landscape, and this will transform the fan experience and extend the reach and presence for partners worldwide. All right, so nothing really we didn't already know.
Okay, useless. Next.
As part as part of this expansion, Fanatics is creating a new sports trading card company that has secured long-term exclusive rights that go into effect over the next few years to design, manufacture, and distribute trading cards for several sports properties, including
And so, so,
MLB.
so hang on, and I'm going to be annoying this whole time.
Yep.
First of all, that's the first time they've said in writing, at least that I've seen direct from them, manufacturing and designing. So that's something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So here's the properties. It says MLB, MLBPA,
Yep.
Players Association, NBA, MBPA,
Yep.
and NFLPA,
But not NFL,
but not NFL. So that's kind of interesting. It says average deal length is 15 years.
which is also new. What I had seen before, everything else I had seen hinted at 20-year deals. This says 15-year deals. Again, not a major update, but it is different. The fact that the NFL isn't there yet, okay. But the
Yep.
PA is signed on. I would
It
imagine that.
says it does mention that Topps had MLB and MLBPA rights, and Panini had NBA, NBAPA, and NFLPA.
Right.
But again, no mention of NFL at all, with Panini owning that. So I
Oh,
don't know.
okay. So
Just interesting.
maybe that's how they're just set up, just different. Okay, so that's not a huge
Yeah.
thing. But the manufacturing is interesting. That's the first time I've seen them mention they would be manufacturing and designing cards. So they're not just
Yeah.
going to come in and buy Tops and Panini. They may do that also. Who knows? But they're not just buying
Yes.
existing brands. They're gonna not groundbreaking, but the manufacturing's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
The real interesting stuff comes here in a couple of bullet points, guys. So bear with us. So, the next one with long-term trading card rights and connection to Fanatics DTC expertise and industry-leading database. Um,
DTC for us
yeah,
stupid
it says,
people, direct to
yeah,
consumer.
that's the only thing I could assume that
Okay.
means. That it's got to be. The new Fanatics Trading Cards company, they just closed $350 million in Series A funding, which gave the company, based on the funding, gave a valuation of $10.4 billion, which that is consistent with what the Wall Street
Wall Street
Journal
Journal.
article brought out. And this was done by partners like Silver Lake, Insight Partners, and Endeavor. So
They
this
did not
is
ask us for money. Okay, go ahead.
surprisingly. So this is kind of like the company ownership breakdown. It says the company is majority owned by Fanatics, over 80%. The leagues, players associations, and investors own the rest. And then both,
Not new. We got it. That's good.
yep. And then Silver Lake and Insight Partners were already existing partners of the larger Fanatics company. Okay. All right. So here's the bullet point I think is most interesting.
Okay.
The Players Association and leagues chose to partner with Fanatics for the new model and vision. Were an unveiling for the hobby to grow the overall category by having one complete experience for collectors, and they highlight buying, selling, grading, financing, breaking, storing, and they say etc. So whatever else that means. And then B, the leagues and players associations being equity holders in the business for the first time. So obviously,
So
buying, selling, grading, financing, breaking, storing, that's huge.
so let's talk about that. So the first point, what is the buying and selling? So I mean, obviously we knew they were going to sell things. The fact that they talk about going DTC, direct to consumer, which is how they run their business now largely. That's interesting. And from the selling aspect, from the buying aspect, and they've also talked about this a little bit, or other sources, because they haven't. This is the first time they have mentioned something. A secondary marketplace is that what we're talking about now? Which wouldn't be shocking. I mean, look at the people in the space on the secondary side now. Whatnot just got a Whatnot's getting huge valuations. All these other companies. Josh Luber, who we know is going to be involved, built StockX. They had a secondary marketplace. He built that pretty much from
I
scratch.
mean, I don't know if they're talking about like a secondary. When you say secondary, are you meaning like somewhere off of Fanatics? Because I think they're saying this is all going to be on Fanatics. Like,
I think so. I think it's going to be on Fanatics, but I honestly, yeah. So I don't want to speculate. Never mind. You're right. Let's stick with that. So just buying, but the buying and selling that leads me to believe there's some sort of secondary marketplace for the single side of things, or for you to relist your boxes if you get them. Otherwise, what's the buying? They would just be selling. I
well,
think
there's
that
got to. I think, like you said, there's got to be a secondary for after like the initial. But that's the thing. A lot of people go to those secondary markets right now for the breaking of these cards. I mean, that's huge. But they're saying breaking will be involved here. So
okay. So buying and selling, we talked. What's the second thing? What was the next thing listed?
grading.
Okay, grading. I mean, that's honestly not the biggest shock in the world. The parent company of CSG, which is CCG, I believe,
Yeah, I
is
would think so.
owned. The majority, at least, is owned by who is it? Blackstone
Yeah,
and
Blackstone. Well, they're at least a big investor. Yeah.
Ruben is tied into Blackstone. So there's, I mean, I'm not saying that's going to be the grading, but the fact that Fanatics is talking about doing grading, yeah,
Yep.
that's weird. I hope not, because I think that's a god awful looking company, but that's fine.
I think this next one's interesting because we don't hear as much about this, but financing.
Yeah, what is the financing and storing? So storing seems easy enough. A vault system, and we've seen
Yeah.
PwC. Hang on, real quick for the guys who just came in. We're not reading an article. This is a direct email Jesse got from somebody. We can't use his name, but somebody at Fanatics today. So this isn't the Wall Street Journal being regurgitated or the other crap from sources close. This is somebody at the company. Um, yeah, storage makes sense. I mean, Golden's opening up a vault now. PwC's vault is a huge service. That makes sense to me. And quite frankly, I don't think that does anything for the landscape of the hobby. Um,
I think the
Financing,
I think the
yeah,
financing is interesting because one, that means I mean, we already know Fnatic sells ultra high end stuff. I mean, I'm hoping that's not meaning like they're expecting the card market to continue where every box costs, every case costs thousands and thousands of dollars. But I mean, if they do cost that much, at least now it sounds like you don't have to go and, get a loan out. You'll be able to go direct to
uh,
them.
if I had to guess, the fact that it's mentioned in line with storing, they would do something similar to what PwCC does. They would lend on margin. You have $100,000 worth of items in their vault. Hey, you can take X amount of dollars out on credit to do to fund your hobby. I would
Yeah.
think that's what financing means more than anything. Um, and then it
Yeah.
mentioned breaking, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, right before it said financing, breaking, storing. So, man, I hate that. I mean, I don't know what to feel about that, but I know that it's going to affect a lot of people.
I'll tell you right now. So, and I don't want to do a ton of speculating here, but on this note, I will. So, if you're telling me you're going direct to consumer, again, this part, everything else that Jesse's read verbatim. This part I'm going to speculate on and just give you kind of a worst case scenario. Fanatics brings on their own breaking team. I mean, if you're going to go there to break, which you just said, they're going to have to bring on breakers. That scares me for a couple reasons. First, most breakers are terrible at what they do, but you have some huge names with people who do it. It makes sense to me. You reach out to the biggest names in the industry, right?
Yeah.
That worries me though, because if you're going to do that, you're going to supply them directly. Well, how do LCSs get stuff direct? Is there going to be some sort of a connection there where they still keep some of those guys in the loop? I would hope so. Or even like us. I mean, we're a multi-million-dollar braking company, Geo Brakes, but in the grand scheme of things, I bet that's not even top 20 in the country in terms of overall revenue. Where does that leave
Yeah.
all of us other guys who are not going to be on their platform braking?
Well,
Side note,
and
Fanatics, if you want us on their braking, let me know. Happy to do it. No, but I do wonder about that part.
I do think they're going to reach out. I think it's going to be a very similar thing to what we've seen some other platforms doing, reaching out, grabbing breakers. Like what was the website that when you first started breaking years ago, it was just breakers.com or something or
Oh,
um
like Breakers TV was a big thing.
yeah, Breakers TV. I think like it's kind of going back to the original of how a lot of this got started in the beginning. They'll probably do something similar. And we talked about this for a while, like years ago when you were starting into breaking. I was like, how is this even possible? Why aren't the companies that make the cards doing this themselves because they're cutting themselves out of so much money?
Right.
Obviously, Fanatics is like, yeah, why are we? Why are they doing it?
It
Because
certainly,
now
I mean, it sounds like that, which
it,
then makes me ask the question: do they cut out distribution entirely? This only talks about DTC, direct to consumer. Um, so, and then just to recap too, there is no mention in here of if they're going to buy Tops, Panini, license out different things, whatever. No, doesn't mention that. I'm not going to speculate. I have my thoughts on that. We're not going to do the speculating thing there. But the fact that they
yeah.
specifically mention, I mean, basically buying and selling, so a marketplace, grading, vaulting service of some kind, or storage of some kind, and braking, in addition to the fact that they would be manufacturing cards. Yeah, that's a scary thought to me. I'm always terrified of, and I'm not saying they are a monopoly, but any sort of company that has that much pull in all these different directions always scares me. Who's there to
So
keep them in check?
So there's one other line. I don't think we talked about this before we got on here.
Okay.
It's kind of like a sub bullet point that I think we need to point out. Well, let me read the one before it. So this,
Like a pellet point.
yeah, yes,
Too
uh-huh.
early. It's too early for this read.
So this one is not it, but I'll just read it because it's next in line. It says already to that point we just made. It says already paying off as leagues, players associations have increased their equity stakes by $1.4 billion with this funding round before company is even launched. So they're saying these guys are already making more money. Good for them. All right. Here's the interesting one. It says this is innovation slash disruption across a new industry similar to how we completely innovated licensed sports merchandise with new on-demand and vertical commerce model. I mean, right there, they're saying a disruption,
Yeah.
which makes me think we're going to see change in how things are done.
Hey, so we just
Which,
got a bunch. Let me real quick. The standard line I'm going to say again. We Jesse got a direct email from somebody at Fanatics today. That's what we're reading. A direct source there with some of their breaking news. We're going to post this video everywhere. But for you guys coming and asking what this is, it's not any of the crap you've read anywhere else. This is a direct source. He's just reading it down bullet point by bullet point. Instant. So the only thing I could think of, if you're going to have instant things available, that sounds to me like it. Again, I'm speculating which I hate doing, and I've done it the whole friggin' time we've been on here. So like instant, and they've already launched NFT and they've been involved in the NFT field. I mean, does that mean, hey, day after we see a walk-off home run by Mike Trout, we have an instant NFT available the next day?
yeah,
Were they on our call yesterday? Because this sounds eerily
I know
familiar.
they're stealing all our great ideas, Mike.
Where's Jeremy?
Yeah, so this alone makes me think that, okay, we're obviously seeing there's going to be other avenues to get access to this thing, to cards, but I think your idea of NFTs, maybe they're referring to that when they say disruption. But man, disruption makes me nervous.
Or just the tops now model where something happens. And another thing, a lot of people have mentioned this. Is this a conflict of interest? People mentioned like, hey, a monopoly. I'll be honest with you guys. Is it a conflict of interest? Sure. But what have we seen over the last few months? Major players buying up different avenues and assets in the hobby.
Oh yeah.
Is it a conflict of interest? Sure. I guess my thing with that is, if you're Fanatics, who cares? If you're gonna, again, just from what we're reading here, if you're gonna make, sell, distribute, break, grade, control the card market, even if it is a total conflict of interest, where else are you gonna go to do it? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I don't know. I think change
Um,
could be good. Disruption could be a good thing. I mean, there's certain things that could be good to see disrupted in this model. I
I
guess
I
makes me a little bit nervous.
I agree because change is always, well, for a lot of us at least, change is never something that we look forward to. However, I don't know if it's all bad. I do feel bad though talking about this and all of the guys that I think it could affect, and I don't want to see that happen. So I'm hoping like maybe there's change in a good sense, like maybe there's still maybe how these card shops get allocation, maybe they still get something, but it's different than what they're used to. I just hope they don't get cut out completely.
So here's a comment too. Let me just read this. Magath, I don't know how you, Magathy, and another thing too. The whole we've seen that too. Antitrust lawsuits. They're a $30 billion valued company. I'm pretty sure they have like if this is just a red flag waiting to happen. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think it'd be just that glaring and that simple. I'm sure they've thought of that if guys in our chat have thought of it. But this, I'm going to butcher the Magothy, Magathy cars, whatever you said. If people are dumb enough to buy into brakes where the producer is breaking it, so be it. I guess that's my question, though. If they are the only ones doing it, people are going to buy in. You think people are going to stop braking because they're worried about some conflict? And just because there could be a conflict of interest doesn't mean there's going to be. I mean, if they're making good product and going direct to their breakers to do it, I mean,
Here's the thing.
And if they're the only one doing it, what are you going to do? I mean, I'm telling you, I don't love that, by the way. I don't love it. But if that's the only source, it's going to take off and be huge.
Well, and you may say, okay, well, then I'm just not going to do it. And then the card market's going to get hurt or something. But you think about when they're getting into this. We just talked about how Joe Rogan hadn't heard anything about cards before. How many of us know personal people in our lives that know nothing about the card market? They're getting in at a time where this is still not a thing. If they lose a few of the old timers or guys who've been doing this for years, they may just say, so be it, and go on to the next million or 100 million guys out there that are like, we want to bring in all these kids who know nothing about this in Venezuela, in Germany, or wherever the case may be, because they're thinking probably more of a global, worldwide thing than just, the guys who've been in it for the last couple decades.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting. I mean, we saw a lot of the same, and someone just mentioned this as a matter of fact. People freaked out when Panini took over basketball and football. I think they do good. I like their products. The difference here is at least what is being said specifically in this, and we're not going to speculate here, specifically buying, selling, manufacturing, direct-to-consumer, breaking, grading, storing, financing. One-stop shop is a totally different thing. My biggest fear with selling is, especially if they're going to go direct to consumer, people have mentioned this too, the whole bot thing. If they have a website set up where people can go in there with bots like they do now on Panini and just clean house, miserable. Especially if that's the only place they can get it. That's brutal.
Yeah.
So
I would think they'd have to do some kind of like lottery system or something like that if they want to try and keep it fair. But yeah, that would be crazy.
Yeah, and there is a balance here too. I mean, because like Fish85 just says a lot of people freaking out, but if it wasn't for change, we'd be driving Model Ts. Some change can be good. I'm not denying that. Change can also be bad. So depending on the route they go with it. Now, if you're telling me, though, that they're going to make things more available, they're going to control price better, they're going to totally get rid of the bot system. I don't know how you do that because I'm stupid. I don't even know how. Trust me, if I was smart enough to understand bots, I would have one and I would buy it.
We already looked into making one years ago.
Oh, good. You just print money. I mean, if they're able to get rid of that, though, and they can find a system where you could distribute more product, great. The one thing not mentioned there at all is the whole licensing of Topps and Panini, though. D. Kenyon, one-stop shop can't be good. I tend to agree, although I guess it could. But quite frankly, that's what we've tried to create with our brand. We want, totally minuscule model of this, but we want people to listen to our podcast. We want people to break with Geo Breaks, to grade with our in-house graders, to then sell their cards with our consigners, and come to our own marketplace. I love the model of keeping everybody in a universe that I've created, because I can control it. I think it could be more secure. This scares me because you have so much money behind it.
And you think too, that idea, that concept is great and all, but we have no financial backing to those companies that are doing all those. Like, we like it because it's like, okay, we work with them, we know them, but at the end of the day, their financial balance sheet has no real effect on us other than what they might sponsor for. Whereas this is all, So it's here. Let me hit this last bullet point. There's one last one on here, very small, and we already know, but I'll just read it.
Is Bill Simmons joining us? Is that the bullet?
Is he in the,
Bill.
I don't know. It says e-commerce entrepreneur and trading cards expert Josh Luber, who co-founded the prominent online goods company StockX, will be joining the company as co-founder and chief vision officer. So that's the end of the letter.
Yeah, so that's not really a new point, but it is the first time that Fanatics has confirmed that point.
Yeah.
Although I think Josh has spoken about it publicly anyways. So they did say, again, if you just came in, they did say at the beginning of the letter, somebody from Fanatics would come on and join us at some point. I've got
Yeah.
to think, too, though, the way Fanatics did the licensing deal, they didn't come out and announce, they still haven't really said anything aside from this. They didn't come out and say at the beginning, though, like, hey, here's the one thing, here's one. They came out and took over the whole landscape. I would
Yeah.
imagine we're going to see the same exact thing here, too, when they get back with us and do it. Again, it looks like we just got a bunch of new people in the room. We got a direct email back, some communication direct from Fanatics finally. Jesse, just hit the bullet points again, then we'll be done here. Just hit all 5.
Yeah. All right. So, bottom line, a few things we already knew. They're going to be.
Jay, I do have to read this one question. This is important. Yamwax, who's the chief vision officer between Jesse and Gio? I'd like your take on that.
I'd like to think it's a conglomeration of the two melding of minds while you're on the toilet and I'm in the shower. That's usually when we talk to each other. All right.
So recap it. Again, this is a direct email from, he did ask us to leave out his name, but we do have his
Yeah.
name, title, directly works for Fanatics.
And
just quick run through if you would.
I don't think I mentioned this, but they said they will come on the show when the time is right. That means they are not talking to anybody, not just us. So when it comes up, when it is available, it looks like we'll be one of the first ones, which is cool. All right, so first thing, Fanatics, they're building out a global sports platform. We already know all this. I'm not going to read the rest. Bottom line is they have made a deal for design, manufacturing, and distribution of their own trading cards with a brand new trading card company, and this will include MLB, MLBPA, NBA, NBA or NBPA, and NFLPA. Again, it's kind of odd we don't see NFL in there. Not sure what that means.
And they mentioned manufacturing cards and designing. Designing,
yes.
Not any news. Manufacturing, interesting. Okay, next.
Average length of those contracts is 15 years. They just went through some additional funding from some private equity firms. They added another $350 million for this company that has not even started yet. And it has given them a company valuation of about $10.4 billion.
Which was reported in the Wall Street Journal and elsewhere. They did report that also. Yep. By the way, I hate to interrupt again. Cart Adam, is it a coincidence Fanatics contacted you after Sports Boy was christened? No, it's not. Okay, next point.
A lot of people are talking about Sports Boy. This was the big bullet point. So the Players Association and leagues chose to partner with Fanatics for their new model and vision. They're unveiling for the hobby to grow the overall category by the following. So they're having one complete experience for collectors. And when they say that, they specifically mention buying, selling, grading, financing, breaking, and storing, just to name a few. So they are specifically saying they will be a complete experience for collectors, including those things. And then they go on to say that this is innovation/disruption across a new industry, similar to how we completely innovated licensed sports merchandise with new on-demand and vertical commerce model. And then the last bullet point, just mentioning, confirming Josh Luber will be a co-founder in this company and the chief vision officer. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, we gave some, so we read that at the very beginning. We kind of gave our thoughts on it a little bit, but the more important thing is that very end there. That is direct from the horse's mouth, which is the first time I've seen anything. We've seen a lot of stupid speculation. That is direct from a source there. Ken asked if we could send him or post it. That's a good point. Yeah, can we post the email but delete the sender's name and all that, or is that something you think?
I'm reading the top of this thing. Maybe I can reword it or something, or I don't know. Maybe okay. I just don't want to I don't want to jeopardize Fanatics coming on in the future because they don't trust how we did it the first time. So
yeah, okay, that's fair. we'll talk about this again for those, just to end this here. We're recording late tonight. I'm out of town tomorrow, so we are moving up the recording date to tonight. So make sure you check it out. We're going to try to expound on this a little bit. We're hopefully going to get a few more bullet points there. We're going to end it here. We're going to post. That is, we started with just reading this. We ended with just reading this, so you can find it on both sides of the video. So make sure you watch that and check it out. There you go. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to speculate anymore. Jesse just read it right from the horse's mouth. So cool.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Hey, let's talk about. No, we're done. All right, we'll catch you guys later. Bye.
Bye.